So I get research some the topic about feminist film for our media power the project. Today's society is still dominated, and feminists has tried to bring about equality. One way, feminists are trying to change the society through. And how should we define feminist film?
Well, there's a lot of different discussions about what makes a film feminist, and the first thing is to say that a film may be good from a feminist point of view without being made by a feminist or even being made by a woman. What's interesting is I think that a wider number of directors are thinking about how to appeal to women and how to demonstrate women's power, and that means sometimes movies are more feminist than they used to be. That doesn't mean there wasn't feminist movies in the past, but some of the definitions that we've learned from the readings from our course, some of the definitions of feminist films are the Bechdel test. Now, I don't know if you remember, but the Bechdel test comes from a cartoon by Alison Bechdel, and it's not an academic idea. At least it was not an academic idea to begin with. So the Bechdel test says that a film is only a feminist film if there are two women, named characters, speaking to each other about something other than a man. So that's one of the ways that you can measure. So although the Bechdel test comes from a cartoon, it has been used as a way, a popular way to measure whether a film is feminist or not. So a film that has more than one woman character in is usually going to be more interesting to women, usually. The other way that you can analyse how feminist a film is to look at Amy Allen's power triad. And that is the power to, the power over, and the power with. And I think the power to is kind of the easiest thing to do, because any woman in the film who achieves anything is demonstrating power to. So power to do something is quite easy to show. Power over, there's a lot of that about in these superhero films, and now the superhero films have women demonstrating power over. And as you say, in a patriarchal society, women showing power over is a sign of strength and maybe a bit more equality. The one that's most interesting, and I think the one that is most hard to portray, is power with. In power with, the women in the film need to work together to achieve something, and it's achieved through women's solidarity. And now we're starting to think about the films in terms of feminist ideas.
Yeah, also, but according to Sutherland and Field's analysis, the film Selma and Louis is a milestone as a feminist movie. What do you think?
Well, it doesn't end well. So from the point of view of the ending, I would say no, but it is a wonderfully imaginative journey of two women saying, actually, we were going to reject the structures that keep us in our place. So in that sense, it is power to, the women leave, and power with, they leave together and they find a chance to express themselves. And in that sense, it's a feminist film. It's not my favourite film, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that is a big challenge, something for that film. But when the film character is oppressed in a feminist film, how have works of literature impressed and feminist film?
Well, that's a huge topic. So some of the films I like the most are based on literature, and E.M. Forster is a favourite of mine. A Passage to India, A Room with a View, Howard's End, I love all those. Even in those, the women are not necessarily very powerful, but at least there's relationships and dialogue and sometimes a bit of wit. And then, of course, there's Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. What can I say? It's still about men and women getting married. Why is that?
Yeah.
It's still about men and women getting married. But there's a lot more agency for the women characters, and there's a lot more character development. And I think that films based on literature have a much greater power to tell a deep story with complex characters compared with action films and superhero movies.
Mm-hmm. Feminist film tend to show feminist representation as women's resistance against men. Is it possible to make a feminist film with beautiful and peaceful character? I don't like always against men.
Well, I'm a bit more worried about resistance against women, and one of the things that has changed a lot recently is there's a lot more violence against women, and even women fighting against women. So I think that feminist films are interesting, and it's a nice change from violence. And one of the key ways of showing power is to be violent. And I think that we have too much violence in our programs. But some of the violent shows are really good. Like, I love Game of Thrones, and in Game of Thrones there are many powerful women characters, so I love that. I have to confess that this is how I watch the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, me too, sometimes.
And Alien and Terminator. So I'm not very good with gore, but I recognise that you can still tell a good story even though there's a lot of violence and a lot of gore.
But some American Hollywood, the movie Captain Mary depicts the heroism of women, deliberately depicts the energy of women. Is it a feminist film? What do you think? I think just is accessible expression of women's stress and masculinity. It's not feminist.
Okay, so let's start with the masculinity. Okay, so I'm a martial artist, and I know how powerful women can be, and I don't think that makes them any less feminine. It may make them more feminist, but it doesn't make them masculine. Every woman who's given birth is courageous and strong, and there are no male heroes without strong women. Okay? So in terms of masculinity, I think for me it's wrong to say that if a woman is strong or powerful or wins, it doesn't make her masculine at all for me. I think women can be heroes. I think women should be heroes, and we all have our heroes. We all want to be heroes. That's the other thing. I think that's the most important thing about feminist movies, is it gives women a chance to see women as heroes. So that's really important for me. In terms of whether we can have peaceful movies starring women, of course we can, and we do. And this is why I mentioned the Jane Austen and the Ian Forster stories that are now made into movies. And of course there's Shakespeare. Not every woman in Shakespeare is weak. Captain Marvel, in a way, it's a feminist film, and I think you have to think about Captain Marvel as one of the superhero movies and not say, is this a feminist film? But ask the question, is this film the most feminist of the superhero movies? So, the hero is a woman. She's very powerful, but to begin with, her power is controlled by the group she is raised with and the commander who commands her. And in the film, she breaks free of that control. So you could say that is feminist, that she breaks free of the system and she breaks free of the masculine control. She definitely shows power too. She definitely shows power over, but it's through violence. And there's a little bit of power with. And it does pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
Because she talks with the other female character
Mm.
about something other than a man.
Mm.
And the other really interesting thing about Captain Marvel is there is no romance.
Mm.
There's a lot of man to woman fighting,
Mm.
which you could say, oh, that's kind of play fighting.
Mm.
But there's no happy ever after, there's no wedding, there's no dating, there's no kissing that I can remember, except when she kisses her friend when she's visiting the family. And the only family scenario is a woman, her girlfriend, and the daughter. So I don't know whether this is a good film for lesbian families. I don't know.
Maybe it's future a big challenge.
But it's different, and you have to remember that Hollywood is a brutal place.
Mm.
It's a demanding business. It's an expensive business, and you have to make a profit if you want to be at Hollywood. And so I think it's really interesting that they're experimenting with women heroes in the blockbuster area.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thus, which of these some features are important to make a film feminist, such as like a female heroism or women's resistance in the face of oppression, or the resilience shown in protecting their own reputation? What do you think?
Well, that's a long list. Okay, I think for me the most important things to make a feminist movie is to have main characters who are women, to have more than one main character who's a woman, to have dialogue. A lot of these action films have almost no dialogue. And for me there has to be character development. And a lot of action films have almost no character development. It's pathetic. It might as well be, a puppet show. So that's my personal opinion. Lots of people love action films. Sometimes there's so little character, I fall asleep.
Yeah, very nice. How does the public view feminist film? And in today's the movie market, is the selling box office good? I think not good. What do you think?
Well, again, you're starting from a very patriarchal system with male directors, male investors, male characters, male actors. The best paid actors are generally men. The movie industry is very cruel to women. You're not allowed to get old, you're not allowed to get fat. It's very cruel. But you can make money from films about women, and as long as you're not trying to make exactly the same amount of money, you're going to do fine, because women make up 50% of the population, and women want to be heroes too.
And all the things you do, and it was called yellow.